Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Apostates. I am here with Dallas.
I'm just going to let the boulets speak for me this morning, today.
Oh, man, is there something playing in the background?
That would be a, dang it, trying to get that right. Okay, there we go. I admit it, I occasionally enjoy the read. My roommate likes to read. I don't love it every time, but I enjoy it.
I don't know what that is, to be honest.
No, read with Joy Reid. Joanne Reid.
Yeah. So, boy, do we have a lot to talk about tonight, or we have one thing to spend a lot of time talking about, and then a bunch of other little things.
Yes.
So I really want to get right into this whole Brittney Griner affair. And I think specifically the intellectual dishonesty that comes with
listen, what it is you got a bunch of people for whom misogynoir, for those of you who do not know this wonderful little portmanteau, misogynoir is the intersection of the hatred of Black and the hatred of women. So it's kind of that special little hatred that people have for Black women. It's a thing. Special.
And let's, I guess, not forget, as you pointed out in our discussions pre-show, it's also the queer angle, where
very much so,
definitely the victim of that level of animosity.
Yeah. There's no question that at the root of it, for many people, they don't want to have that conversation, but I'm just going to say it right out loud. Most people took one look at Brittney Griner and decided they were not going to have a single moment of sympathy for her because she was a Black, masculine of center, lesbian woman that they did not find attractive.
Oh, yeah.
Her sexuality was not a performance for the male gaze.
Oh, there are plenty of comments all around of people calling her Mr. Griner. It's one of those things that they will misgender straight women that they don't like, who are not filling in the formula. So whenever a lot of these people who are ostensibly feminists on the left but are anti-trans speak up and ally themselves with white nationalists who are on their anti-trans bullshit, they're allying themselves with people who will turn against them in a second.
Facts, examples, and I'm going to say as a woman who has androgen insensitivity, someone who occasionally has who was blessed with a little bit more hair in some not very conventional places. I've been misgendered. I've experienced it. It's bullshit. And it really does tell who people really are and how people really view you, how people really view your Blackness in relation to your gender, your Blackness in relation to your politics, and your Blackness in relation to itself.
Yeah. Well, like the cisgender lesbians who are very anti-trans are going to find out that these people who are currently deliberately misgendering Brittney Griner, that is what they think of you too. You are not on their side. They are not on your side. You are useful to them.
You are temporary. You are the flavor. Once they finish chewing you up and the flavor goes out, they will spit you out and call you sir the entire time, and not in a flattering way.
So let's break down many points of the criticism of Brittney Griner. And I think the first one that we constantly hear from, and this was when she first got arrested, was the idea that she broke the law. Does it matter? Does it really matter? I recall
it really does.
Otto Warmbier also broke the law. Rules.
Yes, he did.
In North Korea. And Trump wanted to get him out. And the She Broke the Law crowd were not saying anything back then. These are the same people who wanted Otto Warmbier, rightfully wanted him to come home. But no one's saying, back then, well, he broke the law. There are consequences. Why should we waste resources? Why should we try to get him? Why does it matter? We got him back, which was a good thing Trump tried to do a good thing and did a good thing. We got him back. And it's very sad that he was basically dying by the time that happened. But it happened. It was good. You know what also is good? Brittney Griner coming home.
Of course. I think for me, it's a matter of yet she broke the law. I'm probably taking away your point by this, but for that particular crime, that usually, from what I understand, the minimal amount I understand is that for that particular crime, you only supposed to get a fine and a get the fuck out. Yeah. That is a fine and a get the fuck out, sir. Dos vidania. Don't get any on ya.
But she's a famous basketball player and Olympian, so she's worth something. She's valuable. So she was used as a pawn. And when people go about that whole she should have broke the law, look, she entered a country and did something that they didn't want her to do. The same thing happened to Otto Warmbier. Did Otto Warmbier deserve for stealing a poster? Did he deserve to be tortured into essentially death? No. Does Brittney Griner deserve 9 years hard labor in Serbia? No. They both should come home. And it's as simple as that.
And it's the idea, that his crime seems less important, but we all know that North Korea is a propaganda-based state. It's a state that runs on its propaganda. So stealing a poster is a hell of a crime. But should he have been hemmed up and tortured pretty much to the point of death for it? Fuck no.
It was a good thing that Trump was able to get Warmbier home, and it's a good thing that Biden was able to get Brittney Griner home. Those two things have to be true together.
Yeah, you can't just say Otto Warmbier's freedom is good, Brittney's freedom is not. That begins to open the door to some why, what's the difference? And then
it's not like people are saying they're different either. It's just that nobody is bringing it up. The people who are saying that she should have obeyed the law or she broke the law have not gone back and said anything about Otto Warmbier. And it's the same side, the same crowd who wanted him home.
Or that minister in Iran that they freed. Turned out he's
Well, with speaking of like all these different all this trades and free, people being freed. I want to move on to the next one. It's specifically Mike Pompeo and to an extent Adam Kinzinger and a few other Republicans have voiced that it's not a good idea to be negotiating with hostage takers and it encourages it in the future, et cetera, et cetera. But this is essentially the history of conflict between countries for as long as history has been recorded, is hostages have been taken and trades and exchanges have been made. And for the United States, especially for the last 70 years.
Exactly. We've been horse trading people since the days of Francis Gary Powers. I ain't want to hear none of that. We've horse traded with some horrible motherfuckers, and I don't and to say that this all of a sudden it's different is bullshit. Yeah. I just, it begs to wonder, so what is your real problem with all of this?
Maybe it's the fact that we traded a really bad dude for her. So the saying goes, and I'll get to a little more of that later, but let's go back again to Otto Warmbier. The example I want to bring up is the fact that we got him back by Trump promising and authorizing a $2 million payment for his medical care as the precondition for getting Otto Warmbier back. And they knew he was dying at the time. Now, Trump and Bolton and the administration deny that they ever sent North Korea any of the money. But I find that hard to believe given the sort of reflexively pathological lying nature that Trump has.
Yeah, he sent it.
He loves to make himself feel more cunning than he is. But if it is true that we didn't fulfill the promise to pay $2 million and we kind of left them high and dry after getting Warmbier out, that's a pretty horrible precedent. If we're talking about bad precedents,
Yeah,
that's negotiating for getting one really bad dude, bad hombre out to get Brittney Griner home. It's making an arrangement to get a hostage back, getting the hostage back and not fulfilling the arrangement. Because what do you think is going to happen the next time? And there will be a next time. It's captured.
It's not going to be pretty. They will send that person back in even less of an optimal condition than the late Mr. Warmbier. It's going to get ugly, and it's only because I still can't believe the North Koreans even trusted Trump. But then again, they were not thinking probably as much, oh, hey, it's Donald Trump, what the fuck? But it's the U.S. government. They're usually good for this shit.
My personal theory is that Otto Warmbier was useless to them since he was dying. But that's a personal theory. I don't know.
I think it was useless to, well, you might be right. He might have been useless to all sides. We can't do anything propaganda-wise. We can't give a harrowing survivor story. And they can't, and North Korea can't act like they don't absolutely work their prisoners to basically death.
Yeah. The back and forth of it is again going back to that level of intellectual dishonesty. Both things have to be true. Neither of them can be true, but it can't be one's true and one isn't. Mm-hmm. And that's just it. If it's bad precedent to swap a criminal or a terrorist for a hostage, it's also bad precedent to send them $2 million. Either way, it's a ransom.
Yeah, basically.
And what I think is worse is if it's true that they didn't pay, that is worse. The consequences for that can cascade because I don't want to get too much in the weeds on this aspect of it because I think it's important to Brittney Griner's story as a whole, but it's something that I really have a lot of thoughts about people's nonstop nonsense about Brittney Griner. Ever since it was announced that she was coming, there's been nonsense since she was captured, but ever since it was announced that she was coming home before she stepped foot back in this country, there was just this outpouring of dishonest and repugnant nonsense against her and against us negotiating for her back.
Yeah, this was a case of I'm used to seeing conservative male misogynoir. I'm used to it, but people were taking it to some levels. I don't know if it was the fact that now that we've got apartheid Clyde running Twitter, I don't know. It was like a maelstrom of the perfect hellscape to see who people really are.
I prefer to call him Incel Ron Hubbard.
Ooh, part of me is like, does Ron Hubbard even deserve that?
He deserved worse than he got anyway.
Facts.
But so to go back sort of one of the other things, aside from the utility of you should never negotiate with to get someone back, it would encourage people. Part of what Trump said to make it sound like he stood on that principle was to say he turned down an opportunity to trade Victor Bout, the Merchant of Death, in the past for Paul Whelan. Now, he said despite turning down the alleged deal, which I don't think ever existed, he said, quote, he would have gotten Paul out. Well, you can't do a hypothetical about something you already had a chance to do and didn't. There is no hypothetical, Bonnie. There is no hypothetical.
That just tells me that he didn't do shit.
You can't
about
say,
Paul
I
Whelan.
would have done this if I had the opportunity, but you had the opportunity. That's not how hypotheticals work, Donnie. It just isn't. So he didn't get Paul out. So that's sort of a needless attempt at trying to score some points by saying, we turned down a deal. And frankly, it's kind of a load of nonsense anyway. I don't think there ever was a deal. I'm going to read some notes I took from an article from The Hill here that former NSC advisor Fiona Hill said that Trump was not particularly interested in Paul Whelan. Do you know who also said that Trump wasn't interested in Paul Whelan? His brother, David Whelan.
Yeah, I know the family was actually pretty chill about the whole, well, as chill as a family with a relative in Russia could be, but they were very much like, well, we understand, yes, that getting our loved one home was going to be a bit of a slog. So we're happy for the Griner family. We do hope eventually, Paul will be free too. But, to be honest, we're actually happy for the Griner family. At least this is keeping the discussion around Paul alive.
Yeah. I mean, the only person in the Whelan family who has expressed any upset at this is Paul Whelan, and he's the only one who has the right to be upset about it.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Him being upset is fair.
Said they understand. Specifically, here's another thing. Fiona Hill and the current NSC chief, John Kirby, said that a deal for Whelan is off the table and has never been on the table because he is valued differently by the Russians because he is an alleged spy. Regardless of how true that is or not, that is how they have him. So when people talk about how Paul Whelan, we shouldn't be taking Brittney Griner home because Paul Whelan's not on the table. Do you think because Paul Whelan is off the table that we should make no attempt to get anybody else who's in Russia home?
If they're black and queer, yeah, fuck her, honestly.
So it just, and so it comes back, I think, through a lot of this when all of those other arguments aren't really working. One of the things that is constantly harped on is Brittney Griner's supposed character and moral deficiencies. This whole thing about she allegedly hates America.
You see me rolling my eyes, right? I'm rolling. They're rolling.
People criticize her for speaking out against injustices in the United States, and she has been quoted on record as saying she loves her country. So enough with that. She hates America. But, okay. You want to say that, actions speak louder than words? Her actions were speaking out against injustice. Do you know who else speaks out against injustice? Everybody on Fox News, they think it's an injustice that the January 6 defendants are being persecuted political prisoners.
All right. This is also something that people also need to take in consideration. Russia knows how racist we are and uses it as a tactic. Constant fuckingly. They do it. There is literally a saying translated from the Russian that says, well, the cops shoot Negroes in America, so what are you expecting? That is literally a statement. If your racial fuck-ups are in another country's lexicon, you best be prepared to always have to answer for it every time something happens. And this was a something happening. And once again, we fell right into the trap. And and guess what, white Americans? You did the thing again. You played into Russia's hands. Congratulations. Tired of that shit.
It's really easy to do Russia's work for them.
Basically.
I remember a time when, as a young Republican, Russia was our enemy.
I also remember that.
And we shouldn't trust them.
Pepperidge Farm remembers. I remember that. I definitely remember. I mean, now I just feel like Rocky punched out Ivan Drago for this. Ivan Drago killed Apollo Creed for this.
Don't forget, and I am glad you said that, and I'm glad because I want to get next, speaking of the 80s in Russia, because I have a comparison I want to make. Specifically, the idea about Victor Bout and
talk about it.
Letting the Merchant of Death out. How hard it is. We're letting an arms dealer out. One solitary arms dealer. He's a bad dude. Nobody was dealing arms when he was in charge. We got that shit under wraps. There was no one willing to supply belligerent nations and our enemies with weapons. Now that he's out.
Did they not watch GoldenEye? Like every sixth motherfucker Bond ran into in that fucking movie was a fucking arms dealer.
Gosh. I just, well, you don't want him getting out and supplying the Taliban with weapons, or say the Mujahideen in the 80s. But, so so the critics are suddenly they're so overcome with having an arms dealer out who supplied our enemies with weapons. But did any of these people say a damn thing? One thing. When Donald Trump traded 5,000 members of the Taliban for 1,000 Americans. 5,000 for 1,000.
Like, what in what universe is that? And one more thing. If my memory serves, Victor Bout was supposed to be free in the next 6 years. All we did was chop like a couple of years off his sentence. It's not like the man had a life sentence, y'all.
Nope.
He was
But he was so close to total rehabilitation. If we had just let him stay in jail for a little bit longer, he would have spent the rest of his adulthood never supplying weapons again.
All I know is we've had him in long enough that we have a decent idea of how his networks operate, who he calls, who he doesn't call, where he gets his shit from, who his best customers are, and we've probably used half whatever crumbs of intelligence he has. Man, they need to shut with this shit.
He's on the radar. He's He's whatever. People are saying, oh, he's making moves again. Like, so fucking what? Then we could arrest him again in the future sometime. Who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, but I know that it doesn't matter because one thing's for sure. We traded 5,000 Taliban for 1,000 Americans for the deal to withdraw from Iraq. That thing that everybody says Biden did so poorly, but he did it according to Trump's plan because they had a timetable that Trump set with the treaty. So here's the thing. Is 5-to-1 trade of bad guys okay for American good guys, but a 1-to-1 is really shitty?
Well, the one, I'm going to say it again. The one is a queer Black woman. So no, the trade is not good. I'm sorry. I'm going to keep circling back to it. Call me corporate, but we circling back.
Well, you don't want, I think part of it is we just don't want weapons to end up in the hands of bad guys that are going to kill Americans. Sort of like when we supplied Saudi Arabia with weapons that for the Yemen civil war, those are probably never going to end up in our enemy's hands at all.
Oh God, they probably have been traded. They've probably been traded at least 5 times over.
Or I wonder if any of those guns that we gave to the Contras ended up, I
would bet at least 3 of my toes Contra guns have been used in Miami within the last 16 years.
So it all comes from this place of complete intellectual dishonesty, because for every single criticism they have for the Brittney Griner thing, there is an analog to either something Trump did do or didn't do or did worse. If we didn't do something, Trump didn't do it either. If we did something, Trump did it too. Or if we did something, Trump did a shittier job at it. So both things have to be true, or both can't be true, but one can't be true and the other can. So it's just, this is the level of nonsense that has been bubbling in me all week.
And let's just put it like this. I've celebrated her release and I've muted a lot of motherfuckers because honestly, I'm just at this point, like, just say you hate Black women. Just say you hate Black women. Just say you hate queer Black people and go. Just say you hate them and go. Because that's all you doing is you just saying a lot of words to get back down to, I hate Black people. I hate Black dykes. That's all you doing, honestly. And I love to talk, but I have a limit. I have a limit. Oh, by the way, breaking news. The final public meeting is Monday. The final public meeting of the January 6th committee is Monday.
I hope it's an evening one. When they
Yeah,
schedule it.
like I said, the evening ones tend to be pretty lit. The last one, basically, I wouldn't say it ended Josh Hawley, but it definitely memed Josh Hawley. And
I'm always going to see him running to yakety sax.
Exactly. It didn't, while it may not have ended Josh Hawley, it memed him. It memed him, and we will never not find that shit hilarious.
Oh,
That shit was lit. The fact that someone managed to get the video and had people laughing, and I'm like, this man, he gonna have to hang it, like he gonna have to wait at least 2 cycles before he even contemplates trying to make a move for 1600 Pennsylvania. He gonna have to wait at least 2 cycles.
It's on his radar for sure. I wonder if he'll be angling for the vice position along with Marjorie Taylor Greene.
I think he's going to be angling for the vice position, but not under Trump. He's going to be angling it under DeSantis.
I wouldn't want to be Trump's. I wouldn't want to be Trump's anything. That guy.
Yeah, no one would want to be Trump's anything, but that's the difference between dumb fascists and smart fascists. Dumb fascist is Marjorie Taylor Greene. She wants to be Trump's vice. She's a fucking idiot. Smart fascist, Holly wants to be, if Holly gonna be anybody's vice, it's gonna be DeSantis's vice. It regionally balances the ticket, and you know how I love that shit. You know I live for regionally balanced tickets. It regionally balances the ticket. It duty balances the ticket, because usually a lot of the vice presidents, they are drawn from the senatorial pool, and it's a kind of a wonderful balance of different kinds of horrible. DeSantis is not a people person. Trust me, I live here. I've seen the man. He's not a people person. And Hawley is just a condescending motherfucker. I will never forget the sigh and the bitch. I swear to God, I will bust this motherfucker in his face that Justice Jackson non-verbally communicated to every woman, and probably doubly to every Black woman in the room, while dealing with that asshole from Missouri. You
can hear her internal monologue go, "Are you fucking serious?"
Yeah. Is this man serious right the fuck now? I cannot, and I will. I'm on camera, and there's a lot of
Don't get us canceled.
I need this. I need this job. And then that tight smile of, you know, I hate you and I know you hate me. So let's just get it over with.
God, that condescending son of a bitch.
Oh God.
But to go back to Marjorie Taylor Greene a little bit too, I want to one of the going back, I mentioned about how, you know, Brittney Griner fighting for injustice is seen as her hating America, and you know the right fights against what they think are injustice all the time, but it's different for them
all the time
reasons. But I mean, one of the things that Marjorie Taylor Greene was championing was the horrible conditions in the prisons that January 6th insurrectionists were held in, and it's like, well, yeah, jail sucks. A lot of people are trying to change that.
That's why we've been they're so close to getting it. They're like, this is why we talk about Rikers. This is why we talk about Chrome Detention Center. This is why we talk about the entire Texas penal system. And this is why we talk about it. But I'm assuming it's because all the faces of those are non-white people or poor people. So as a result, you don't give a fuck till it's y'all. You don't give a fuck till it's Jenny the realtor who was a small dollar donor, but you know, they were cool. So free them. That's what it comes down to. And why is it they always realtors? I got why are they always realtors? What is going on with that?
I feel like that may alienate a lot of people.
Go for it.
The qualification to be a realtor is not intelligence. I'm not saying that there aren't intelligent realtors.
Oh yeah,
I'm
no,
saying that there's no bar for lack of it.
Yeah, you're right. If a realtor knows the right people, falls into the right the right area realtors association, glad hands the right motherfuckers, they could be as dumb as a motherfucking post and still make bank every month.
And lest anybody think I'm being elitist, I just should mention that, I'm a licensed attorney, but so was Rudy Giuliani, and so is Michael Cohen. So I don't think I'm special.
Yeah, I mean, Shakespeare didn't lie with first thing we do, kill all the lawyers. And the law's an ass.
I left something in my car.
You're not gonna leave me like this. I know you're not gonna leave me. You're not gonna leave me like this, counselor.
I have so let's get to the Elon Musk section of the show.
Oh Lord. This man, apartheid Clyde out here.
Incel Ron Hubbard.
I don't know. I feel like either or could work, but I have a personal attachment to it. I feel something very personal with apartheid Clyde. I there's something very just like I think it's the alliteration.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's based on an actual feature of his existence.
Well, he was bringing apartheid to his Tesla factories.
That part.
Yeah. Gosh. I mean, what an import from his home country.
Of course. Oh, speaking of that, we already discussed the fact that he tried to build like some 19th century era sweatshop type dorm, like that scene in Contagion, bedding at work experience.
Oh, but it's for the employees who get tired at work.
No, it's one thing to just occasionally, when it comes to crunch time and the game is due to be finished developing, you sleep at your desk maybe once every couple of months, or in my case, Super Bowl week. Or all of tourist season.
Yeah.
Like, honestly.
You're describing my tax season.
Exactly. Or, in my case, when people get their tax refunds. So I'm sitting here that's different, pulling down massive amounts of overtime in crunch time. But he wants them to live there.
Yeah.
And considering that much of the people left behind are people with H-1B visas that are dependent on employment, it's giving Virginia coal mine. It's giving railroad. It's giving memories of your daddy's emerald mine.
I have to wonder if he's ever seen the movie Madawan about the Battle of Blair Mountain and the striking workers there.
I don't know, but
he probably rooted for the Baldwin Felts detective.
I wouldn't be shocked if he out here hoping that he can find a modern day set of Pinkertons to stand guard at the door of the building that he's not paying rent on, apparently.
Oh yeah, not paying rent on the buildings, refusing to pay invoices for private flights.
What kind of American Greed season 18 bullshit is that?
But it's 4-degree chess, don't you know?
4 degrees of what?
Or fourth dimensional, or whatever the fuck.
4 dimensions to where?
Up his own ass.
Apparently, and I'm sure there's a lot of room there.
This sort of constant sycophantic nonsense anytime there's a headline coming out about some other stupid thing he did is just like, you'll never make that kind of money. Like, okay, but I'm also happy. He is just this pathetic narcissist who
his life right now, his public life is a series of "senpai, notice me" moments that honestly get more and more pathetic as we go. He basically throws open throws the bussy and throws open Twitter's bussy for Trump, Trump's like, no. And Trump rarely says no to anything that open, whether it be a buffet or, well, okay. You know, then now the whole thing of him going to to making a guest appearance at a Chappelle event. And remember, Chappelle's already run off a lot of his fans with his transphobic fuck shit, and they boo him.
Yeah, because who would pay good money to see Chappelle and Chris Rock and want to have to spend 10 minutes dealing with Elon Musk just farting up the show?
Like, bruh. Like the feeling of, I didn't pay money to see no Elon goddamn Musk.
Yeah.
I didn't pay. He has money. He should be paying me. Let me shout my Cash App at this man.
And, you know, the whole thing with these constant, the tranches of Twitter files.
That was bull.
Basically, all it has shown is that Twitter had a lot of internal debate over how far they bent themselves backwards to not ban Trump, despite years of him doing things that would get a normal non-president kicked off, non-public.
And also seeing the kid gloves they treated Chaya Raychick with.
Yeah, it made it seem like this whole big thing, like nobody make an action on this account without approval from higher, meaning that people weren't allowed to ban her without asking their superiors first.
Like, I'm sorry, she out here. I'm like, this woman has blood on her hands. She needs to get some therapy, because this woman, her father was a Jewish jail chaplain, a jail rabbi. So that means this woman has seen marginalized people. She knows what they look like. And this is how she reacts? I mean, no, baby, you hurt. You hurt. You are a hurt woman. You are hurt. Someone hurt you. You need to sit with that hurt, do the shadow work needed to get to where you need to be, and get the fuck off the internet, because it's not doing good for you. Well, it's not good for you.
And it goes back to what we were saying earlier about people coordinating with their enemies to fight someone they hated even more. We're sort of white cis lesbians who are anti-trans aligning themselves with known white nationalists.
And the fact that
there's a common cause there.
And this is an Orthodox Jewish woman who is making common cause, breaking bread with people who who, when the day comes, will be more than happy to hurt her back.
And recently, Candace Owens released a video extolling the virtues of discrimination, and I don't have the exact quotes, but one of them,
in other words, the very thing that would rip her marriage apart, strip her of her high station, and put her down into I don't know, put her down and away from her wonderfully, I guess you could call it glamorous, even though it doesn't look like she's afforded a hairdresser since we've had a black president.
One of the things that she said, and I'm going to, some, I guess, warning for anybody who's had enough of the sort of transphobic nonsense, but she literally on her show called trans people freaks. In this whole screed about discriminating is built in to us. She says it's built into us for a reason, because it's a survival mechanism, and that you should lean into that. And society, here's an actual quote, society would be safer if we discriminated more. And like, you went to court and either won or got a settlement for actual discrimination you faced. How? And you read the accounts, by the way. The discrimination she faced was terrifying, and
it was mind-breaking.
Yeah.
It was mind-breaking.
It was terrifying. It was horrible that she went through that. But then to come back and say it's okay to do it to gay people and trans people and call them groomers and call them freaks, and that you should, cross the street when you see them. To say that discrimination is a good because it's built into the survival mechanism, it's a survival mechanism for us. That is white nationalist language. That is white nationalist ideology.
The fact that I know she really knows, and the thing is, the woman has to know in her heart of heart, she is just one angry white woman's scream from losing everything. I said what I said. She is one angry white woman scream from fucking losing everything. And I actually hope it never happens to her. While it would be the karma that she absolutely deserves, on one hand, on the other, from one black woman to another, as a black woman who has experienced what a angry white woman can do, I hope it never fucking happens to her, because it's not fun. It is terrifying. You can die. And people have died. It's the idea that she is saying this and she knows where it is going. But I guess she thinks the validation, because validation, I'm going to be honest, is like a drug.
Oh, yeah.
Validation to the marginalized is like a drug. It is cocaine. It is ecstasy. It is a hard drug. It's meth. You get that, and trust me, you will forget yourself.
That's how these organizations grow.
And you'll forget yourself. And I cannot tell you, and to break yourself of it, it's never usually one incident. It's a series of things stacked upon you till you break up. You break. And then you wonder, what the fuck was I thinking? And you really have to sit with the worst parts of yourself.
Going back to sitting with the worst parts of yourself and changing, and the way people's ideologies shift over time, and how validation, supports that. I go back to my own sort of transformation, from a younger Republican to what I am now, which by default is Democrat. But again, I do have to stress by default. And you'll see there are plenty of Republicans who think I am a communist. If you talk, pardon me for believing in unions and a robust social safety net, and that people shouldn't, starve to death, freeze to death, or die from medical attention that they couldn't afford. Because,
in other words, the idea that poverty is not a moral judgment upon you.
Yeah.
Poverty fucking happens.
Because of that, I'm a communist. And, it's one of those things. And I think with what I've always believed, the things I believed, but I found a way to square them with, being a Republican, because I really thought that's part of that like big tent idea. And that, there are bigots, but there are also, very wonderful people who believe things the way I do. And it's just Trump and the last several years have shown, no, that's not the case.
No, yeah, it's the finding out that people genuinely look upon certain things as moral judgments upon you, and therefore anything bad that happens to you, you absolutely deserve. That's, it goes back to Brittney Griner. I guess we're gonna go back to that. It's the idea that she is a queer Black woman, masculine presenting, who is basically like pretty much most Black athletes walking in the United States, except She works for a league that does not pay her enough, so she does, and which is her own fault for being a woman. Which, you know, she's works for a league that doesn't pay her enough, so she has to work abroad in order to make ends meet, and therefore it's her fault. All of these things are her fault, and it puts you in a weird position. Like, you being talented enough to play in the WNBA is your fault. Them not paying you enough is your fault. And that to me is kind of one of the first things that kind of really made me go, wait, these people only care about you if you meet certain conditions. If you don't meet these conditions, they do not care.
No. And
even if you meet those conditions, there may be other conditions that you did not meet, and therefore they do not care. It's what happened to Philando Castile. He basically did everything right. Still got shot. Well, like 15 years ago, there was a weed arrest. Therefore, fuck that guy. Okay, I got what?
That's, I think, again, we keep going back to Brittney Griner because there's so much of the hypocrisy illustrated in this one issue that touches on almost every sub-issue. It touches on criminal justice. It touches on gay rights. It touches on people's idea of what it means to be a real American. And basically, you can't be black and have an opinion. And
you can't be black and have an opinion that forces white people to have to examine themselves.
I think with a lot of this whole, like, you know, well, she broke the law thing, like, it cannabis oil residue does not, yeah. I mean, it shouldn't equal anything in the United States. We've got how many millions of people behind bars, and so many of them are for possession.
Possession. And if it's over a certain amount, it's possession with intent to distribute. I'm like, distribute to whom? That's not that much. You know, and it's the idea that when you find out that for that same crime, other Americans, white ones, have gotten basically you pay fine, you get the fuck out.
A lot of pretrial intervention.
Lots of pretrial interventions. Like, basically, normally in Russia, that's you get a fine and you get the fuck out. And the fact that they decided, we're gonna put her in a horrid prison, a place so bad that her locks froze. Do you know how cold it fucking has to be as a black woman for you to just look at your hair? It snaps. First of all, the trauma, and I'm speaking as somebody who has lost hair, of going from having shoulder length hair to I remember when I lost my hair, I went from about here to here. I bawled. I've cried because life is hard enough as a black woman. To lose your hair is to lose one of the few signifiers in this world that separates, that says I'm a woman. And God help you if you're dark-skinned and you lose your hair. Like me and Brittney is light-skinned, so she did not have that same burden. But to lose your hair as a black woman is to lose the minimal signifier of the barest courtesy society gives you. And even as a masculine of center woman, to lose your hair is still painful. So for her to wake up and realize, snap, I can't keep my hair. So she had to get it shorn. And to get it shorn. This is something that if anyone indigenous or any indigenous men are listening, you probably are kind of knowing where I'm going with this. To shear your hair is also psychologically really painful. It kind of, to shear your hair against your will, to shear your hair and it not be your choice, it's painful. And to have it done by some, I don't know if she did it herself. Part of me is hoping that they were kind enough to let her cut her own hair so that she could do it herself, because that is the kind of thing that I would want to be by myself to do. But chances are it was done in a prison barber shop by someone who has never encountered black hair, who does not know what is going on, who's just like, okay, you want it cut? Thank you. Say spesiba, svidanya, you're done. But, and to have a stranger who you can't quite communicate properly with, who will not know what you want, who really doesn't give a fuck and does not understand that this is a big deal, to have somebody do that, that is painful. I can't imagine having to, and it would probably be 10 times worse for someone like me, who's mostly feminine presenting. Even worse as someone who's bisexual. So that means I'm fair game to anybody and everybody. So it's the idea that she had to she already went through so much. And it's the idea that she's going to come back to a country where a large amount of people are going to say, what you went through does not matter. It's going to be that weird feeling of, oh my God, the Russians were right. These are a bunch of racist motherfuckers. And at the same time, but these are still my people. It's going to be there's going to be a lot that she's going to have to reconcile. I do not wish that journey on anyone. I would never wish this journey on a fellow Black woman, on a fellow queer woman. Oh no, but here we are. It's the idea that she had to go through all of that. And some jerk ass is going to misgender her, shit on her experience, bring up previous crimes that she may have committed, just because they see a Black queer woman that they can't fuck or can't visualize fucking, and that's what and as a result they will not care. She is depersoned. I mean, as a Black woman, being depersoned happens a lot, but this is kind of laying bare the fact that as a country, we fucking need therapy for our misogynoir, and instead of therapy, we let Elon Musk buy Twitter.
That man can afford therapy 50 million times over.
As I said, this man could have been Dwayne Wade in cargo shorts. The man could have been Dwayne Wade in cargo shorts.
I love Dwayne Wade.
Exactly. He could have been Dwayne Wade in cargo shorts. He could have been Pedro Pascal, but paler and less attractive. But instead, he did this. Jesus be the most competent and expensive therapist in the world. Jesus be $1,000 an hour therapist.
Gosh, I don't know how, I'm ill-equipped and not capable of following up anything you said, because you said it all so wonderfully. And, obviously, I have no frame of reference. I just am grateful you shared that.
Yeah, the whole thing about the hair thing, it goes back to a long time ago. There was this page I used to follow called Chicks on the Right, obviously 2 white women. And they wrote this entire stupid fucking essay about black hair. Yeah. I wrote them back to set the record straight. I was trying to help. They ignored it. And then some other motherfucker said some dumb shit, and I unfriended them. Eventually. At that point, I just said, you really, if I'd have known the phrase existed, it probably didn't. If I'd have known the phrase, you don't have the range for this conversation. Plus, you're bald. You are a bald white man. You do not have the range for this conversation. Excellent. But I didn't, I was too nice at the time. Now I probably would have said it. I would have said, you are white and you are bald. You do not have the range for this conversation. Period.
Being polite in the face of nonsense, it has not worked. So,
oh yeah, no,
why bother?
I'm slowly giving up on the idea of being polite. I'm realizing that sometimes it's as good as saying just say you hate black women and go. Seems, or you are not a serious person. Please take a seat. That's as polite as I'm getting right now. Sometimes
it's just that's, I think that goes sort of right back down to it, is the whole idea that there are some people out there who are just not capable and are not interested in engaging in good faith. Like, Steven Crowder, the Steven Crowders of the world. They're not serious.
Oh God.
And I think that's the phrase.
Steven Crowder, there's a lot I could say about that man. In my bad old days, I thought he was interesting. But even then, I was like, what the fuck? You think you funny enough for the Daily Show? You barely funny enough for a church youth group, sir. And then you hear the rumors about him, and you just are like, and you're like, huh, that does make sense. But you keep the rumors to yourself because you were raised better.
All I'm saying is that I don't think people who are secure in who they are carry around gun holsters everywhere they go.
Yeah, I'm left with
men who are secure in their masculinity do not need to wear holsters on their side.
Yeah, bitch, this is not the set of Mission Impossible, and you are actually taller than Tom Cruise. You do not have to do this.
But they're just, like you said, they're not serious people. And regardless of, God damn it, I lost my train of thought. Oh, I had something and it's gone. My dogs. They're coming into the room. They've got to go out because they couldn't wait.
Aww.
They're the best. But if you hear any barking, that's where that comes from.
No, I heard a...
God. Yeah,
I heard a whine. I heard a gentle whine.
That's the door. It needs to be oiled.
That is not the door. That is your dog. I know the difference between a squeaky door, and the dog. I do know that. I don't know much, but I do know that.
Oh man, I am this. So I guess the theme of this episode has been intellectual dishonesty and people who aren't serious.
Or intellectual dishonesty. Intellectual dishonesty in service of lesbophobia and misogynoir.
I don't think I could say anything that could add or be, there's nothing of value I can say that would, add to what you said so well. So perhaps I should quit while I'm behind and end the episode. But I will say, I think we're getting some breaking news. It looks like Henry Kissinger's still not dead.
What
Good
the
night.